All right, I'm here with Patrick.
That's right, Patrick from Beyond Cosplay or Banana Split, whichever one you want to check out. If you're a little sort of a like-minded fellow that's into geek, pop culture, gaming, all that sort of thing, and also cars. So that's why I reached out when you made your post about asking,
podcast.
Yeah, and I was like, hang on, we're into a lot of the same things. You're a bit more successful with it, but you know, I've been sort of like admiring from afar for a long time, and just
I was just trying to figure out how we actually got in touch in the first place. But I do remember asking you at some stage about your Fallout.
Right.
outfit.
Yeah. We're going to do a little mini shoot there. Yeah. No, I did end up coming into the possession of some rather bulky power armor.
Yeah.
I think it's T51.
T51.
If you're into that sort of thing. It's got the little light up helmet. It doesn't have. Eventually, I want to get like a little mic inside so you can sound like a stormtrooper.
That's
which
cool.
is basically what they sound like.
Yeah.
They're just a lot more steroid using, amped up. They're like a cross between a stormtrooper and like, I don't know if you've ever seen like Warhammer 40k, like those Space Marines.
I know I've seen some of the graphics.
And those guys are supposed to be like super juiced up, genetically modified, basically like Supermen. Because, you know, they're sort of human, but they're like 10 feet tall, like the best of the best ever. Like if you bred, you know, the star quarterback / running back from the NFL with, I don't know, the best athletes of all time.
Yeah, like specimens.
Yeah. But that's about as far as I've got into that. Once you get into all the Chaos Gods and things like that, it just becomes like there's so much story to that stuff. And
I've never fully understood cosplay. Like as a graphic designer, a lot of it that I see is cheesy because and a lot of the photography that I do is so raw. But then cosplay photography is more like the more special effects you add to it, the cooler it is. But sometimes those special effects are things that, as a graphic designer, you're sort of almost taught to avoid the special effects.
Yeah.
So, you know, Photoshop, when you first, like, I don't know, Photoshop 3 or something was the first Photoshop I used, or 2 or something, and you can put a lens flare on your photo, but don't use the lens flare.
Yeah, whereas these guys are fully adding in like the kitchen sink. They're just going balls out, stylistic. Like you might have a cell shaded character from Borderlands or something like that, and then you'll Photoshop in a background, possibly another character like one of the little robots or an alien, and then you know there's barely anything left in the photo that's original.
Well, it looks fun. Like I mean, I only just signed up to DeviantArt recently, and fuck, there's tons of it on DeviantArt.
Right.
You know, like cosplay where it's just Photoshopped to death, but it's like it's obviously the person doing that Photoshop work is having a ball.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're not, it's not design work where you have to be so stringent and so less is more and constantly like, you know, maybe you start out by piling shit on and over time you're actually refining, taking away until it's perfect. But if anything, I'm jealous of people who do that kind of work where they get to have so much fun with it that it's like, I'm just going to pile it on. Yeah,
I'm jealous of two kinds of cosplayer. I don't know, I want to say just cosplayers, because there's people involved in the world that are like just photographers or mostly just building outfits and suits and doing the lighting for it or whatever.
I love those YouTube videos, man. Of like
there's Deerstalker projects. I recommend looking some of their stuff up. There's a guy named Ken Abbott that does some really good stuff, and they're both based in Sydney.
It's that 3D printing has taken cosplay to the next level.
Yeah, well,
people are
with
making
all the
guns and stuff that like, you know, I think once upon a time cosplay was more like you could tell that was made of cardboard or something. Whereas now it's like just seeing what people are doing, like with like Destiny weapons and stuff. And
I mean, the worlds are definitely colliding. Like, I don't know if you ever watched The Boys on Prime, Amazon.
Nope.
The second season just finished. It's really good, worth checking out. But some of the superheroes in that, like May in particular, who's kind of a Wonder Woman and not a clone. There's a word for that when it's just like a stand-in almost. Like she's supposed to be a satire of of a Wonder Woman type person.
Yeah.
And they have that like the main character Homelander is supposed to be kind of like a Superman, but he's a sociopathic, narcissistic like nut job. In the final scene of the second episode, not to spoil anything, but it's basically him silhouetted to a full moon, standing on top of a building, jerking off over New York City, just saying, "I'm not afraid of anyone," or whatever it is. I own the world. And you know, he's just
I like
nuts.
that kind of anti-hero.
Oh,
like
it's full
Watchmen.
on. I recommend it. But basically, her armor that she wears looks like something I've seen at many conventions. Like
Right.
It pretty much looks like Warbler and fiberglass and stuff like that, but it's still good enough to be like, oh no, I guess it passes.
I like seeing footage from the conventions though. Like it's super cool. Like obviously it's really hard to not be judgmental. Like I'm a judgmental person.
Sure.
So it's kind of like sometimes I see a character that I really love in a game and then I can see someone trying to be that character.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
you are really not on the
Yeah,
mark.
but you still got to like, you can't publicly shame them because, they're still giving it their best shot or whatever. Like you'll see 50 Harlequins and 20 Jokers
Right.
and about 37 Deadpools. And some of them use the costume as an excuse to play out in ways that they wouldn't normally get away with and
Totally,
act out bad
right?
behavior.
Yeah.
So, there is some issues there, but you can't just
No, but that's
pull
cool
some out of
too
it.
though, right?
Yeah,
Like shy people getting out of their skin and...
Yeah, there's a fine line
you-
between, enabling someone to act out their fantasies and be, who they want to be and letting that person go too far. And there's always examples of that you
Right.
could pull from, but luckily it's more rare than... That's the exception.
From on the outside, you don't hear about that. It's not so big an issue. that
yeah.
I've
No, there's
ever
definitely
heard
a
of anything like
couple of characters, no pun intended, that pop up every now and then. And eventually, it's self-policing though, because after a while, it's a small world, even though it's all over the country and even international.
Yeah.
Everyone gets to know each other.
It's a
and,
tight scene.
There's a lot of politics and bullshit like you get in the car scene.
Yeah.
So, but generally the worst of the worst do get kind of pushed out.
Yeah,
through,
or named and shamed or whatever.
Yeah, basically.
But like if you think about it, like every kid dressed up as like a superhero at some point, So I love it that it's like a big kid thing,
Yeah, well, that's what got me into it, actually. It was my older son. At the time, I think he was only about 5, and I took him to a supernova, and he saw these characters, and as far as he knew, they were the characters.
That's awesome.
No, he was 4, and then on his 5th birthday, by that time, I got to know some actual cosplayers, and I got them to turn up in character as Spider-Man and whoever else. They had this huge knockdown, drag him out, choreographed fight in front of like 20 kids in a park in Ryde, and he had the best time of his life. And now I look forward to doing that again with, now the kid who's 4. So it just keeps going around in circles. I'll probably have to pay more this time though, because I kind of lost touch with this guy Sam. He actually runs a whole like party company where they go to different.
So he does a
kids'
service
birthdays.
like
yeah.
like
But he's
kids'
really
parties and
good.
stuff,
Like he's got guys that will just do backflips off roofs.
Yeah.
And they've done some really cool videos.
Parkour.
Yeah, basically they go to parkour gyms all the time, and
Yeah.
it's kind of a combination of that and the costuming. So
That's actually pretty crazy. I mean,
yeah.
like it's getting even closer to living the fantasy of it.
Yeah, well, they even run a corporate service where they sign up whoever's interested to bring out a bunch of staff or whoever's keen to do it, and they'll help do a showreel video for these people.
Yeah.
And I even acted like he needed some people to do a trial run to show what they were capable of.
Yeah.
And he directs, and he's got all these people as crew and to play as bad guys, and he'll get you into the movie.
Yeah.
So it's like a really short, say 2-minute movie of you running around knocking out bad guys and jumping off walls and doing tricks and things like that. And then he'll cut it together to make it like this awesome little, mini movie.
Look,
And you're the star.
it's so geeky,
So,
like
yeah.
to the external world. If you don't understand it, like it's so geeky that I've always thought mentally in my head, I've always known deep down that like geeks are the coolest people in the world. 'Cause,
Yeah, I love anyone who's not afraid to be passionate about something that has sort of
right.
they've come across and it's stuck, and they're like,
Right.
right, this is what I'm into, and they'll just follow that down the rabbit hole and go all the way.
Totally. I think even with Zen Garage, like the whole thing of us geeking out over Japanese culture or cars and stuff like that, and it got to a point where if people were spitting some venom your way, that byline just came out of the woodwork. It was kind of like, it's okay if you don't get it, and it wasn't.
Oh, that's where, because I've seen
Yeah.
that on the shirts that you're still
Right.
selling all that stuff.
It's come about because it's like rather than me saying it's okay you don't get it if you don't get it, because it's not trying to say it's not trying to give them attitude. It's actually trying to say it's genuinely all right if you don't understand us geeking out the fuck about something, then it's okay.
Yeah.
It's like we've got nothing against you. Just understand that we're geeking out about it, and
I love that. I've got to actually steal one of those images and use it, because I'm in all these political groups. Like you can't help it in the last sort of 4 years since Trump came in to be a bit more aware of how crazy it can get, and how, you see people complaining about that in video games sometimes, like these nerds that are like, oh, they should take politics out of my gaming. I just want to have fun and escape and all that sort of thing. And I'm like, well, yeah, but the more you go down the rabbit hole of learning about, like, again, that was through podcasts as well, listening to a lot of things about people getting locked up for crimes they didn't commit and how bad it is.
It's bottomless. It's bottomless.
For some people. Like, being an ignorant, just cis white male, like, I've managed to avoid a lot of the shit that a lot of other people go through. Like, I didn't realise how easy I've had it. And I haven't had it that easy, but I've obviously had a lot of advantages that I was unaware of. And so when you see someone talking about, systemic racism doesn't exist, show me a law where, it's going to oppress black people. And it's like, well, it's not just laws, it's the systems that are in place and the general, like, racism that's out there. And you can point to all these studies, but some people are just so blinkered to that. And then what they'll do, like you mentioned, is attack the person rather than the position.
Yeah.
And I've had photos of me thrown into threads, and it's like they've gone back like 5 years and found some really bad cosplay photo of me in like a toga or holding up a sword like an idiot. And I'm clearly gurning for the camera, just being like, and it looks, if you frame it in the wrong way, like I'm 100% legit serious about, I love this sword, it is my life. Like, there's an old shot of, it's not Elon Musk, it's Ben Shapiro, when he was like in his 20s, and he was dressed all in black, and he had black boots, and he had slick black hair, like Matrix style, and he had a long samurai sword, and he was just doing one of those poses like,
and it just gets brought up whenever someone can't be bothered to have a real debate about it, they just whip it out.
Yeah, like that one time. Like, I don't agree with his politics, but I'm like, yeah, come on, man. Everyone can look like an idiot sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's a great response. Just like, okay, you think that's cringy and you think that's...
It's all right.
Like,
it's all right.
Fun,
it's like,
fine.
It's okay if you don't get it,
Exactly.
Like, I think it's not said so that I'm going to say that and you want to get angrier and fight back. It's like a genuine, like, dude, like, if you don't understand why the fuck we do this and we're so into it, then just maybe just leave us alone and like let us keep doing what we're doing, and we're not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it came from. But it's funny, like, I've made a few political posts on Facebook recently, and I am the furthest away from understanding politics. My history with it is, like, I remember in high school that I was invited to a debating class, and then you'd get up in front of the classroom and you get given a topic, and whether you believed in being the right or the wrong, you just debate that. And I'm just like, nah, fuck this. This is not for me, right? But it's like, I love to debate shit. I love arguing. So I've been anti-Trump ever since he was elected.
Right.
Like, as in, this is a guy that runs a shitty TV show. And all of my friends, most of my friends are artistic people. At that time, I had a few friends, close friends that were living in New York, and they were crying, literally bawling their eyes out when he won.
Yeah, I saw a lot of clips like that. Yeah,
they couldn't believe. They were so embarrassed, and they were in such shock. So I think ever since then, I've hated the guy. And it took like maybe 2 or 3 months ago where I was just hating on him randomly on a Discord with a few mates of mine, and one guy was like, why do you hate Trump? Like, he's done this and this. And I'm just like, you fucking serious? I was like, I posted an Obama speech, and I'm like, this fucking, and he goes, nah, I don't like Obama. I'm like, you fucking serious? I was like, I was just arcing up, and the honest truth is I didn't know anything. So now that I've spent the last 2 months seeing how every single media channel out there is one side. Yeah. I'm shocked by it. Like,
it's a lot more partisan than it used to be, and it's so tribal now. It's really hard to have any kind of... I've never tried to stop myself from getting involved in too many online debates, because it generally just devolves to like insults.
Dude, I'm out. I tap out.
Yeah.
I don't want people to unsubscribe from my feed because I'm talking about something that is actually offending them. Like, I'm out because I'd rather offend them about something that I'm passionate about.
Yeah, it's a fine line between being genuine and yourself, and then being like too much for some people.
dude,
Right.
I'm just being a troll. Like, I'm just like, I'm not an expert on this. I'm just throwing something out there.
Yeah.
But, then when I start to see people getting like, yeah, you're right. When people are really political about it and they're almost like urging, it's not that we can vote, but they're almost urging you to pick a side. And that if you don't pick their side, then you're nothing to them, or they look down on you.
I mean, people lose their jobs. Like someone recently just got fired in, I think it was California, for wearing a Black Lives Matter mask to their job. And then someone else got fired for wearing a Trump hat. So it's just...
But that's
you got to
crazy.
be really...
It's like I still have to Google what cancel culture is and all that.
That's right, yeah.
But I know that this whole being politically correct thing has been going on for some time. And I don't think I've ever been in a situation in life where I've had to adhere to those kind of rules anyway. Like the path that I've chosen has always been like, I'm the one that gets banned. I'm the one that gets my content removed. And, it's just a constant for me. But I've gotten to a point in my life now where I'm starting to really accept it. Like, they've got rules. It's their platform. There's lots of kids on Facebook. There's lots of kids on Instagram. And if I post something that's a bit rude, then I've really got no one to blame but myself for posting it. So
yeah, I mean, the terms of service are there. Like, I can't stand a lot of... Like, Facebook is one I'm most familiar with, and I've been banned for a lot of, like, ridiculous things.
Right.
It didn't, from what I can see, break the rules.
Right.
That's my problem with it, when they're not consistent.
Yeah.
Or it's... Because it's all done by bots or algorithms.
You can't speak to a human.
No, I've never once been able to speak to an actual human. One time I got so upset, and this is back in the days of the forums, SkylinesAustralia.com, JDMST, which I think you started.
Yep.
And I was all over Hard-Tuned, Hot Thoughts, or whatever different forums there was. And I was using Facebook a lot to find content and things like that. And I built up like 2,000 friends or something. And so it must have been like early 2005 to 2010.
Yeah.
And
forums were huge then.
Yeah. And I was a bit less, I guess... I'm not saying I'm very mature now, but I definitely got wrapped up in it. And so my account got disabled. And I actually rang like the Facebook office in Sydney. And it was some French girl at the desk that was like, hello, how can I help you? I'm like, oh, yeah, can you just sort out my Facebook account? My profile is blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, I don't know what it was basically like you needed an appointment to get through to anyone that would talk about, like, I think if you're Channel 7 or the police force, you maybe talk to someone, but not just some random Facebook user. So I've always been a little bitter about that. And, I've never paid once to advertise any of my pages or anything like that. Like I've got Beyond Cosplay's got nearly 20,000 likes, and none of them were bought. And it's kind of hovered around that number since, I think it was Deadpool 2 came out. We've always gone to like... We had a meme that went viral, and it got like 5,000 extra likes. Yeah. And I've just been, all right, I can sit on this now.
But they're all dying, man. Like if, even looking at YouTube, and I saw your podcast and like how little the views are and how little the likes are in comparison to when it first started. Like, Zen Garage, we used to get over 1 million...
unique visitors or whatever.
Per week.
Wow. Yeah, like Beyond Cosplay, the website, I don't even want to see the numbers because I'm just too... And I haven't updated it in a while because I like to have feedback. And I'd get people at conventions going, oh, you're the guy that does that site. I liked your article. And that was great. But since the convention stopped, I don't really... No one was like writing into the website. Or even really the Facebook page, I'd get a few, like people going, oh, I've got this friend, can we put her photos up? Or it was someone trying to do a promotion, like, we give out tickets to Movie World or or a movie that was about to come out. They'd want us to promote it and do that sort of cross. Like, because if it was in our world, like if it was something to do with shoes or some random...
You didn't want to
something that was outside our
hurt your community.
Purview. Yeah. We just want to if we can give away free shit, then I'm all over it. But otherwise, I'm not going to shill for some like.
Dude, they're drug dealers. Like they gave us that reach. They pushed us to the front page. YouTube would push our shit to the front, and then once you start to build your whole life, like YouTubers were buying houses and stuff, putting
that would be a dream. Wow.
But then they took it all away from all of us. That's why there were so many videos on YouTube of fuck
Well,
YouTube.
that's why I could never
demonetizing
pay.
my channel. And
They keep pushing to get me to get premium, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no fucking way. Not with
No.
all those DoorDash ads and.
But it's the same with Facebook, man. So one morning, when we opened the Zen doors that morning, it was like, shit, what happened? Our whole Facebook was not reaching anybody anymore.
Oh.
It happened like a switch.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, oh, Facebook ads, you can boost your post now to
Yeah,
your
yeah,
community.
yeah. No,
so
yeah.
it's like a drug dealer. It's like they gave us.
I see what you mean, yeah.
And then turn it off. Now you've got to pay for it. You got
Like
to pay to reach people who like your page.
Yeah.
So
Like I'll still get 50 comments or something on a good post.
Okay,
and
yeah,
that's what,
yeah.
when I was talking to someone that set me up at Smash and their PR people to get, like, because that was one thing we got out of it. And that was enough. We weren't making any money when we started. It was just me and a few friends. And now it's pretty much just me at the moment and maybe one or two photographers that I'll use. But all we get out of it was free entry to the events. And because we love going, that was like enough.
Yep.
But and they were saying, yeah, the reason we'll get you in is because we look at your reach, and it's not so much the number of likes, because anyone can go on Fiverr or some site and buy likes.
It's more
but
the
it was,
interaction.
they're not saying like 50 dudes with the same sounding name from somewhere that doesn't have cosplay, just writing, "Hi, babe."
Yeah. Yeah.
It was actual people that were in the scene and that had names commenting on stuff. So they were like, okay, people. And yeah, I do remember bringing my son over the years, and eventually he's like, man, everyone. And I'm just like, yeah, well, not to humble brag, but that's just what happens when you keep turning up to events over and over again.
Well, when you're real,
Yeah.
like when you're doing it for the right reasons. And
Yeah, and I'm the
you're
most socially awkward person I know, and there's a lot of pretty full-on personalities in that scene.
Yeah.
And
loud personalities.
yeah, like I'm the first one in a group of people at a party or something to just pull out my phone, and it's terrible. It's a bad crutch, but even then, I still sort of managed to somehow.
Dude, like I did a podcast the other night with one of my Discord mates, and started off talking about advertising. Actually, like how a lot of those YouTuber game channels are sponsored by some mobile phone game that's like piece of shit game, but they're just taking the 3K. Give me 3K cash, I'll put that ad in. But like I've just realized, coming full circle, that I've spent my whole life in advertising, and it's only now that I'm really waking up to the fact that advertising fucking sucks. Everyone hates it. What the hell was I doing?
Yeah, I did enjoy the psychology of it. Like, I don't know if you ever watched the Gruen Transfer.
Oh, I love
I got
that
the box
show.
set.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
I
that was
saw
a great
Todd
show,
Sampson once at Bondi Junction, because I used to always take and I still do. Like, that's our fortnightly thing. We go to the movies.
He's a legend, man. He's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and he's always in that cinema. I've seen him like 3 times, and the third time he looked at me like, "Hey, why do I?"
He is awesome.
And I was
man.
like, "Oh," but I didn't want to go up and like be weird. That's my
very
one
cool.
thing. I've seen a few celebrities, like when you get into the VIP rooms at conventions.
They just get mobbed.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't want to be that
wanna
guy
be that
that's
guy, yeah.
making their day worse. The only time I've really got to sit down with anyone doing interviews, like a writer or a director and that sort of thing, and they don't get as visibly recognised. So
Yeah.
I don't mind sort of being able to, as long as I keep it on topic and it's not just like
you just
the
don't.
same questions. Like I
That's
try
what
and
I mean.
find interviews
It's
that
all
they've
about-
already done and try not to ask the same thing.
Exactly. You don't want to be like. You want to get them out of their comfort zone, and that actually will be more fun for them as well.
Yeah,
End of
there's
the
a real
day.
art to interviewing,
Yeah.
and I'm a long way from learning it. It's just.
And I don't know, like I tend to talk so much that when I have people on the podcast, it's like, fuck, I spoke for most of it. I'm like, shit. I only hear that the next day. I'm like,
But people
fuck.
say that about Joe Rogan, and he's still got like how many million followers,
Dude, in the comments, it's always like, fucking Joe.
Well, that's why he
cutting
says
off
to
that
not
guy
read
all the
them.
time. yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah, well,
He
I've only
doesn't.
had a few comments on my like reviews where they can go on Facebook and review the page or the
Okay.
podcast or whatever. I think even
Yeah.
on iTunes they've got one.
Yeah.
And there was 2 or 3, and they were absolutely slamming us. And I would just like screen cap it.
It's
and
okay if you
share
don't get it.
Like, no, but I was like, look at this 1 star, it's awesome. And then just that was an excuse for me to just put it out there even more. But and it was clear from some of the comments that they weren't even listening to the show.
Exactly. There's trolls everywhere, man. Like they just want you to reply, so they've got their next reply ready to go, But like back on the advertising thing, and it's interesting that you said that you wouldn't give them $1, blah blah blah. But honestly, like coming from my background, it was like either you have $1 million to get that billboard ad, which is like unachievable, or you spend a good 5K for a half page ad in a magazine, which only goes out to 3,000 people. That's not many people.
And you're talking about like NME or one of those free 3D World or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, or something like that, right? And then, or you try to get on radio, which you don't really know how many people listen to that ad. Or you try to get on television, which is like, oh, you don't even want to ask how much that costs, right? So at that point, it was really hard for us to advertise.
Oh, for Zen Garage?
No. For anything, like way before that, like because I've been a graphic designer since like the 90s, right?
But was that up to you? Was that a concern for you how to advertise? I thought you were just like, here's a cool design, do what you want.
No, well that's the thing. Like any business would have had to spend so much money just to get out in front of 1,000 people. It would cost you at least 5K. But if you spend 5K on Facebook advertising, you get in front of like maybe 100,000 people.
Yeah.
And it'll be targeted too. And you'll know it as well. And what I find interesting is how many people these days are anti giving Facebook money. But dude, if you're running a business that's selling t-shirts or like you have a restaurant or something, you'd be fucking mad.
Right. So you do pay for Facebook advertising?
Dude, every single time that my business partners when I was running ZEN said, Justin, come on, you got to put fucking ads. I'm like, fuck off. But as soon as like they were forcing me at least once a week, Justin, boost one of the shop posts with a link to the shop. Just boost it $50, Justin. It's all right. It's $50. We can afford it. And as soon as I boosted a post, like literally almost a minute later, there'd be 3 or 4 sales that paid for the ad straight away.
Wow.
So every time if I boost now a Facebook post to the Zen shop, just literally like last week, like I got a couple of orders that were over $100 each.
Wow.
But for the last 3 or 4 years, I haven't boosted anything. I sold fucking nothing. So all I'm saying is we're very proud and not give Facebook $1 and stuff, but there is no cheaper advertising platform on the planet today, and there is no better one. If like last year when I was running a design agency, we asked Vogue Australia how much it would cost to put an ad in there for our photo studio. It was $50,000 for a half page.
Even now, you'd think they'd be struggling to find anyone willing to pay that kind of money, but
the circulation's not that big.
Yeah.
Facebook
well, how many magazines have closed doors? Like I used to get Empire, Wheels, and all that stuff,
magazines
and I would find
Shops
somewhere to read them. But now even though I love long form journalism and I'll be lucky to read a good weekend these days, let alone a novel. So I'm sort of ashamed of that. But
that's why Facebook, it's like, that's why advertising on Facebook, that cross post to your Instagram and stuff like that, like if a $50 boost can make me easily like $400 or $500, which pays for the ad, imagine if I boosted it for $5,000. Like it's just like, that's what a proper business should be able to do, because a proper business would have put that into a magazine.
But you might have that law of diminishing marginal returns. Like you can only put so much money into it before it's going to start going the other way.
You just need to figure it out.
Yeah.
But the thing is, people aren't even willing to spend $25 to boost a post because they're just anti the whole concept of it. But man, if you use it well, like you still have to create engaging content. It's still got to be a post that you can already tell. Just say you make a post and it's like Facebook says, this post is doing 95% better than all your other posts. Fucking why not boost it? If you're selling a product, I'm saying. If you're selling a service.
Yeah, like for now, all I've done is make a shirt for my podcast. I don't know if that's visible. But with an average of 20 to 30 viewers an episode, probably not going to sell too many. We recently got a graphic designer to...
It's cool.
Oh, he's more of a cartoonist. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tight style, together. Really tight style.
The color was a bit wrong because it bleeds into the eyes, but we'll work on that. So I don't know. It's just, if we ever get the kind of audience that I don't expect more than, say, triple figures, like 100 and something one day, to have a nice core. It's not about, it's like if you watch The Boys, there's something that one of the characters says. It's not about the number of...
No.
I don't want, because Homelander's like the Superman guy, and he's a massively immature... He's basically a child in a man's body that's way overpowered. Yeah. But mentally, he's like a 9-year-old. All he wants is the adoration of the world. He's like, you hear it in his head, he's like, Homelander. Like he just keeps hearing this chanting. He's like, I've got to get all the likes. Like he just wants all the people to love him.
Yeah.
And this other character is like really divisive, and she makes all these like troll posts on social media, and she's like, it's not about having all the fans. You're never going to get everyone to like you. It's about having maybe 5,000 soldiers that will die for you. That's
Right,
what you
right,
want.
right. No,
and
no,
so
look.
I'm more about like getting just a quality small number of people that will turn up to things we do now and then,
Yep.
or just listen and respond and have a little community.
Yeah.
Then that's it. I'm never.
Well, that's why I shut Zen down, because we had this issue where we became one of the cool brands.
Right.
And
I mean, you're in Need for Speed.
yeah, but kids were buying the brand
for
and
Speed.
going out and doing stupid shit, wearing the clothes.
Right.
And I couldn't sleep at night.
Wow.
So, and even at the end of car meets, if you're talking about like kids,
If only Tommy Hilfiger felt the same way. A lot of things would get shut down.
But no, seriously, it's like if I had no morals,
Yeah.
I would create a brand that's like called Bad Motherfuckers or something, or Bad Kids for Life or some shit, and I would just do some rad, crazy, funny graphic designs and
Like Obey.
I would just do something that I didn't give a fuck about. This is primarily gonna be a business that sells out, and I would boost the hell out of this stuff and get influencers to do all this shit on their social media for some free product. But I personally could not sleep at night.
But Dan Bilzerian has something like that called Ignite, and he's been making a lot of money from presenting like a, because he's got like the highest number of Instagram followers and all that sort of
But
thing.
he doesn't care. Like that kind of
No,
guy. Like that's the thing. You got to have that kind of skin, right? You got to not have morals.
Like he's thrown women literally off buildings.
And broken their ankles.
So
No, dude, like it's even with like guys who create phone games. And I was talking with the girl that I just shot. I was talking to her about it earlier today, and I was involved in the development of a phone app where all of a sudden we're making like a few thousand per week, and we were like starting to cheer, right? Because we were like, fuck yeah, we're making money from microtransactions.
Yeah.
Like someone can buy some clothes for their character and stuff like that, right?
that's why I'm trying to get my son into coding. I don't want him to be a truck driver like me.
But dude, I
make some apps, man.
I hit the eject button, man. I couldn't deal with it. When you go drill down through the stats and you find out that some 13-year-old kid is spending like $1,300 a week on your app.
Yeah.
I'm like, in black and white terms, in the bookwork, you're like, that's a good business. We're making money. But then like...
That's the whole principle behind Fortnite. That's all those skins. I mean, even he's pulling out $20 or $30 a week from my PlayStation network because I forget that my credit card's linked to it. And then he's like, I need this really limited edition bundle pack of skins.
It's
I'm
savage.
like, you don't even play it anymore. Yeah, but it's limited edition. I'm like,
It is savage because it and that's the thing with Geeked Out as well. Like the geeky show that I've just started, like the podcast, we talk about like how...
so will this be on Geeked Out or Zen Garage? Because it looks like you've got two different...
I don't know. I'll probably put it on both.
Yeah, okay.
It's
confusing.
We'll see where it goes. But like that whole concept of like, when I was gaming like 10 hours a day, man, I was not a happy person.
Right, no, I get that, yeah. It's just
and,
compulsive, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like so proud of being an end gamer and having the best loot, the best gear. Because... I worked so hard for it.
Because you play a lot of online stuff. I'm more of a single player. Like I just 100%ed Spider-Man, which has been out for a few years.
Right.
But my son finally got sick of it, so I decided to give it a whirl. And bam, there goes like 50 to 60 hours of my life. So I get it. Fallout was a similar issue.
Love Fallout.
I was just disappearing into that. For 76, I only gave short shrift because you couldn't hoard. And I'm a massive hoarder online. And
you can hoard if you pay for their monthly subscription.
See, that's where I pull
nasty.
back. As soon as you start having to put money down, like even with, I'll hoard digitally. Like I've got like hundreds of thousands of photos on my different various hard drives. Like, and I like to just sit there, listen to your music, and it's like a weird like OCD thing. I'll move them into different folders. Like, okay, here's all the
busy.
girls wearing sunglasses on a beach. And if you notice, Reddit's the same way. There's so many specific subreddits. So it's like girls standing near a sunset that's in a grassy field. That will be a subreddit. Like it's just crazy. And there's a part of me that just lives for that sort of thing. Or you can just go into this weird zoned out Zen state and off you go. But I lost a whole meme folder, and that was like, thousands and thousands again of these funny images that I've collected over the years. I had like all the animal memes in one. I had all the political ones over here, all the you name it, right?
Yeah.
And I was pretty crushed, and I went on and looked for ways to fix it because I'd accidentally emptied the recycle bin.
Yeah.
And I didn't have this thing set up on Windows where it goes back 2 days or whatever. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I've set it up now, but geez. So I found out there's a program called Disk Drill, which will recover it. But I'm like, oh, okay. They want like $80 or $90. And that's when it comes down to the crunch. Like, how far are you willing to go for your hobby.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of money on cosplay, but that's a physical, tangible thing I can have.
Yeah.
Like that power armor suit was like $5,000 or something in installments on, to send to some guy in America that makes stuff for films.
Yeah.
So I knew I was getting quality. It wasn't just going to be something off wish.com.
But it's real. It's
you can wear it around. You get the instant love.
Yeah.
And it's not so much just people going, wow, can I get a photo? It's like people come up to you and talk about the game and the experiences they had with it. And
it's so bizarre, man. The digital achievements and clothes for a character that you already know. Like, if you really fucking ask yourself, you know that in 10 years from now, you probably won't be playing this game anymore. And that all of that money that you spent on it is...
I'll be playing Fallout 6 or something. Yeah.
Retro.
God, we haven't even had 5 yet. And it's been a couple of years since 4.
Yeah.
So the way it's going, it's...
I've got no hope for it,
years
man.
out.
I don't know. But, that's the thing about the multiplayer games. The reason why I like it is because when I was putting in 10 hours a day plus into gaming, you can show it off. That is the addiction. The addiction is, like, with a single player game, yeah, sure, you want to get that piece of armor, but you got no one to show it off to. Whereas in a multiplayer game, you rock up and you show something that is so rare and hard to get. Or you've had to do, like in Destiny, you had to pass that mission. And as soon as you're rocking it, people that have never been able to finish that mission instantly know that you've done that mission.
Right.
You couldn't share it. You couldn't buy it. You had to earn it. So that is a huge addiction for me with the multiplayer thing. But, it gets to a point where, like, I fall into, like, deep depression and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? And it's sad that, like, since I've come off the medications and for depression and stuff like that, all of a sudden I've got this drive back again, and I'm doing these podcasts. Like the fact that we're doing this now.
Oh, okay. So is it really like that movie with not Zach Braff, the guy from Scrubs, where he was on all this medication and it had Natalie Portman, and he was it's called Garden State, I think.
Okay.
And basically he's like living in this cotton wool world when he's on all this antidepressant stuff.
Yeah, it's
and then
weird.
he suddenly stops it. And then he falls in love with this girl and starts running around.
Well,
I saw it like
it's like a
15 years
Beautiful
ago.
Mind, where he stops taking the medication without telling anybody, and he starts connecting again with them, but he's crazy again.
Oh, it's an amazing movie.
Yeah, so I think, like, I'm realizing that the high highs and the low lows have always been normal for me. It's just that I went too far with the gaming and the drugs and all of that. I actually went to a point where, I'm digging a hole so deep that normality is completely gone. And so the medication was the only thing that could bring me back. But then I've never been the kind of person that's respected anybody for being on medication. That's going to sound really harsh to a lot of people that live with medication.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing a Tumblr post once, and I don't really go on Tumblr. I see the best of it on Reddit or whatever. But it was talking about how people say, oh, but Van Gogh and Picasso and all those people that were a bit crazy, they wouldn't have been able to create this beautiful art if they weren't like that. But
there's a lot of truth to it.
Well, there's some, but I think also, what this post was saying was, if they'd had the medication, they might have still made beautiful art, but they might just not have been as ridiculously sad.
I think like most artists, it's such a sad situation because you can't be an artist in your own mind. You're only an artist when you put shit out. And when you put it out, you get judged, and then that really hurts because you're doing it for yourself, yes, but you have to publish. So you have to put yourself out there. So, and obviously the world's gotten harsher because there's just so many more people seeing your shit. Like anyone can publish, right? So where once upon a time, it'd be really hard. Like you probably dream of getting your work in a gallery. Now you just might create your own gallery online. And it's just so much easier to get more people to chip in their 2 cents on what they think about your artwork or whatever. But like for me personally, having those high highs and those low lows is better. A better quality of life than me just being dead set in the center because of this little pill that I take every night. And every day is like, there's no high highs, there's no lows. The whole year, like the month melds into 3 months, melts into a year. Next thing you know, it's 2 years. And for me, like, I haven't done anything for the last 2 years. I've recovered.
Right. When did you shut down, like you said, the garage?
Oh, see, that was the beginning of the end. That was when I was smoking so hard.
Right, that's right. You used to smoke a lot of pot.
Yeah, like an ounce a week. It just got to a point where I was smoking an ounce a week. And we were all smoking at ZEN. And it was just like, I even could see in retrospect, like we had such a good group of dudes, like we were called the Broners. Like we had boners for each other. We loved each other, you know.
That's not toxic masculinity at all. That's beautiful.
It was love. Yeah. It was awesome. But then I could actually see the drugs affecting our relationships, and it just
as soon as you're trying to get that, as soon as that becomes necessary for the whole group to meet,
just got nasty. It got nasty, and like the balance was way off. So like, you know, balance is really hard to achieve in life, but smoking an ounce a week, there's no balance in that. You know, it's savage. So
I'm not very good on I'm more of a metric.
Well, an ounce is like, dude, like when you get it, it's like a big plastic container.
Oh, it's like a brick. Basically.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay.
Yeah. So I was getting to a point where like I'd wake up to a weird sound. I'm like, what the fuck is that sound? Oh shit, that's air going through my lungs. That wheezing kind of like,
Jesus.
Just breathing.
Yeah.
You know? And,
so it's a good thing they can recover then. Otherwise you'd be...
Well, I had to. I was like, I lost so much weight. I was down to 51 kilos. I was like just a skeleton, and it started to get like suicidal thoughts and shit, and semi-attempted to kill myself. And that's when, like, you know, my mum was like, I'm going to take you to the doctor, like my family doctor. And I hesitated, and then she finally dragged me in there. And my family doctor could not believe what I looked like. Like the last time he saw me, I was this chubby guy. So he's like, holy fuck. He's like, you need to get on meds. I'm like, no. He's like, there's no choice here, Justin. You're going to go on meds. Antidepressants, blah, blah, blah. You're going to see this psych, and you're going to do this therapy and all this kind of shit. And
get you 10 free sessions. And
yeah, so I don't know. Like for me, it was like, I've been off the meds now for 3 months, and all of a sudden, holy fuck, like the day is so long. It's like I'm not filling it up with like playing games for 10 hours a day. And I know it's like, it's so weird when you, like when I was trying to quit smoking and you're hanging out with your best friends who are smokers, they fucking hate it when you're saying stuff like, I really need to stop smoking, guys. They're like, oh, listen to you.
Yeah.
They're judging me and shit. It's so personal.
Yeah, they project and they think that, oh, you're having a go at them.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, guys, I really think that this is bad for me, and I need to change something here, you know? And it's like savage to have said goodbye to so many close friends of mine when I was that party guy.
So you closed it because you were worried about people that were wearing the clothing? And
well, it was not so much closed. It is like I did a few social media tests. So one of them was like, we reduced the price of all our products by 5 cents. So it was like, you know, $49.95, you know, instead of $50. Or
definitely, that would make a difference.
And like literally within 3 weeks, I looked at the stats. We were making 30% more sales.
Yeah, it's just a psychological thing. Oh, it's not 50. It's
So then I hopped on Facebook and I boosted the post too. I'm like, fuck you, motherfuckers, for buying all our gear because it was 5 cents cheaper. I want to buy it back off you. And man, the amount of people that see you, Zen Garage.
Yeah.
Unfollow. Everyone's commenting. Unfollow. Fuck you guys. How dare you fucking what kind of stupid brand would do this to their own brand? No. I'm like, see you later.
I can see what you mean about trolling. That's pretty funny.
I'm like, see you later. Fuck off. You know, and like I said, if I didn't care for the brand so much, I want to make more money. But I care about the brand so much that I'm like, I'm going to stop selling this shit and pushing it. And I'm so much happier to just give it to you if I like you. So when I was doing podcasts with people and meeting cool people, I'm like, take a hoodie, take a hat.
Yeah.
And they're rocking it. Like, you know, like Lewis Hamilton's fucking brother came over and met him, and he loved hanging out with me so much. I'm showing him photos of naked chicks, and he's like, oh, I can't do that. I've got corporate sponsors. And we just had such a good time. And like next minute...
Wait, what's Lewis Hamilton's brother do? Does he drive as well?
He's a driver as well. He's got cerebral palsy.
So it's in the family.
And he drives.
Really?
Yeah, he's a
Is he full like Steady Eddie, or is he just
He can't even hardly walk.
Oh, man.
But he can drive. And like
That's
even
awesome.
just walking down to the beach, I was always next to him thinking he was going to fall. But no, this guy's got it.
I had no idea.
But when he got back home...
we shouldn't just call him Lewis Hamilton's brother.
Oh my god, it's Nick Hamilton.
All right, cool.
So yeah, hanging out with Nick was fucking cool. And then like when he got back to London, there's a photo of Lewis and he's wearing the ZEN hat. I'm like, yes, this guy can represent my brand.
Yeah.
Any day of the week, and I know
You can't afford
such a
that.
good guy.
Yeah, if you'd tried to like set up that with his PR people and tried to pay for it, would have been ridiculous. But he's just
It's
all about the
because
lifestyle.
and he's got rules, and like his post, he's wearing something that like it's got not safe for work. There's girls on the site, but he still did it because he gets it, you know. And
yeah, well, you're always respectful with him. I remember you posting something about another guy that you talked to that had admitted that he'd you know, enjoyed some of his work more than he maybe should have. Or there was that other post I tagged you in. I don't know if you saw it. It was a guy that was doing shibari stuff.
oh yeah, that
and
guy's
he'd been
fucking hell.
macking on the girls and
God damn, his shibari work was amazing. It's a real shame. Like I saw some of that shit and I was like, fuck, that looks insane.
yeah. I think I'd seen him do it at Sexpo.
Right.
Because they always have a little demonstration at that sort of. And the next year they went to Brisbane. I think that was last year.
Dude, you can't do this. Like even Anthony Lister, he's an awesome street artist, and like he's prolific. Like a true artists are prolific. Every single day they're making art because they can't not. And this guy has graffiti all over Darlinghurst where he lives. And underneath, I was walking around, I started to see his work. Underneath it was always like where his signature was Lister, rapist, Lister, rapist.
Whoa.
And then it all came out. So he uses his fan base of young girls that like look up to him. He gets them high on some chemical, some drug, till they pass out. And then he started tattooing them when they were passed out.
Oh, it's a nightmare. That breaks so many laws.
And all of that.
Oh, man.
There's an SBS documentary on him and stuff. And it's like, no one knew this shit.
Well, he's not going to be Banksy now.
But dude, it's gonna get out. Like, I mean, you got to be mad if you're that prolific.
Exactly. Like, there's two guys that work for Rooster Teeth, which is a pretty large gaming YouTube channel, and all that. They do like mini movies and stuff like that. Two of their bigger personalities just got outed for doing the same thing, basically, like going into their female fan base of 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and these dudes are 40 now. Flying them out to their hotels. Doing the whole sexting back and forth thing. One of them was married with kids. So, yeah, it's just like, how do you think that's going to...
People talk, man. Like, I've been shooting girls for years now, and from the very get-go, from the start, girls would tell me, oh, yeah, you're so awesome because you're not, like, sleazy like this guy. And all the names. I know all the names. I know all the photographers that are fucked, that are opportunists. And, I know so many guys that are still shooting that aren't shooting for the right reasons.
Right. But you wouldn't go so far as to like name them or put up like a post somewhere where it could be constantly updated.
I put up, obviously that guy that you... Yeah, so that guy was like, really, this girl, she's a good friend of mine. She really should have gone to the cops. But...
the one that... Was she one of his victims, the Shibari guy?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's not the guy that you posted. It's another guy.
Oh, yeah. I think I saw that one, yeah.
It's another guy, yeah. God. So there's a lot of reasons why she's not going to the cops. Like, she feels like, as the victim, why is it so fucking hard for her?
I mean, they talk about the cancel culture going too far, but I think, by and large, it's generally just the only kind of natural justice there is for a lot of victims, because the courts...
You mean just going social media?
Yeah, and just saying, look, this guy did this. As long as you can, to a point, back it up with... a reasonable amount of evidence, and that's usually pretty easy with all the instant messenger stuff that's out there.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot easier. Yeah, because there's no money involved. You're not going to court. You don't need a lawyer, and the whole court system, getting a lawyer and stuff. None of us are experienced at that shit.
Like, I'd love to see my sons more than I do, but I know that's going to involve six-figure sums that I don't have. So it's the same problem. And there was another guy in the cosplay community, we talked about him a couple of episodes ago, and he would shoot girls and invite them to his Snapchat or Instagram and DMs and all that, and start steering the conversation towards, that sort of content, and asking for, would you go on a threesome, or would you do this, or you do that? And
it's hard to split it. Like, that's the thing. Like,
I had to look up who he's with now, because he was doing a YouTube channel, like a similar kind of two guys talking about geek stuff. I got in touch with the guy that actually seemed to be running it. I was like, did you know this? And sent him links to like the court results, and he's, I had no idea. And he had to delete all those episodes. So, and I felt terrible for the guy, because he seemed genuinely nice, but the guy lived nearby. and he said, "Oh, I'll give you some juicy gossip. One thing that no one knows, and it's probably worse than all that. He plays a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh."
A lot of what?
Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like some card game.
Oh, okay.
It's like one of those anime collector card things. It's like Magic the Gathering, but with anime or something.
Yeah, I think I know.
And I was just like, man, I don't think that's worse than what he's been doing, but good to know. So
No, it's been like this. Like, I like living in the grey, so you know, part of me is a little bit paranoid about, holy fuck, I'm going to go to jail if I don't watch out. Because like even the girl that I shot today, she loves a lot of the photos that I take, and especially the ones where it is like a point of view kind of shot, right? Where I actually make the viewer feel like they're in the shot.
Right.
And in order for me to get those shots, it's girls that I've worked with for years.
yeah,
And there's so much trust.
there's so many I could think of right now that I love. Just driving here today, we were looking at it, and my friend and I, and there was one where it was like you had her phone sitting in her lap, so to speak, and then you could see you in the phone camera with your big DSLR, and I was like, oh, that's awesome.
But that's the thing, like meeting someone for the first time today and never having shot her, having no idea about who she is and nothing, and like she wants those shots straight up. I'm like, but I don't trust you yet. You know, like I can't just do that with someone that I've never shot with before. Yeah, because it's like I don't have the hardcore waterproof contracts and stuff. And like, man, if I don't watch it and I start like, you know, a girl wants a shot like that and I do it, like who the fuck knows where it could land me, you know? And another thing is like if a girl does decide to get a bit excited and try to steal a kiss from me or something during a shoot, it's like at one half I am just an ordinary guy. I'm single.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of like, of course, my brain ticks over to why the hell not? This is going to be fun. But then instantly I'm like, holy fuck, do you want to be one of those guys? Like, do you want to be talked about? And the professionalism kicks in so hard to a point. Like, I'm like, if you want to go on a date, let's go on a date.
Yeah.
But right now we're fucking shooting. You know?
No, that's the best way to roll. Like, I can't imagine how many different ways that could be taken or talked about later. And
exactly. So, man, people talk, you know, and I have a squeaky clean image. Even the image might be dirty. Like a lot of people would judge me on my image, just go, oh my God, it's touching the model in the shot.
Oh,
You're not meant to touch your models.
Right.
It's black and white rule.
I didn't know that was it's like strip clubs in America where you can't touch them.
Well, photographers, you don't want to encourage photographers to start copying my style because next thing you know, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. Like creepers galore. So,
well, it could be like one of those anime conventions in Japan. Have you seen those? No. They've got some girl and they've got her basically in a schoolgirl outfit, like one of those anime characters, but there'll be 50 dudes surrounding her and getting her to put her knee up, and they're all going up skirts. Yeah. And it's just they're getting mobbed.
Motor shows are the same. Like in Tokyo Auto Salon, they hire strippers.
They've just got no shame.
Every photographer's down there. I mean, that culture's it's bizarre, man. Like
they're reading like full-on lolicon porn on the train next to
Japanese
nuns, and it's like
I did a podcast with the boys about that, about like how hardcore that kind of hentai and all that stuff is. Like there's so much suppression going on, but surely it's going to get harder for them going forwards to release content like that because, you know, it's like
as the world gets smaller, eventually that's going to be more out in the open. It's going to have to get like, purified, or as the UV rays hit it, it'll be cleansed like as if it was coronavirus. It'll just
So part of me is like sympathetic, but you know, it's funny because you and I had a little discussion on Facebook, or you and some other people on my Facebook were talking about Cuties, that film on Netflix.
Yeah.
And last night, I had a really good friend over, and after the shoot, like I was just talking to her about Cuties, and we watched that video of Mr. Girl who was like awkwardly saying how he was turned on by it. And
who said that?
Mr. Girl. Have you? The whole thing for me, the reason why I cancelled Netflix was because of Mr. Girl.
What's Mr. Girl?
So Mr. Girl, he's a YouTuber.
Right.
And he made a video about a review on Cuties.
Okay. And he said he was turned on by it.
He started the video with, hey cuties, and like they did agree, and it was already bad from the start. But he was
But you're a fan of his, or were you just
no, no,
this
no,
guy
no.
can get
No,
turned
this
on by it?
This is the main video that has been picked up by all the other YouTubers, and they can't believe this guy actually saying the shit that he says in his review, which is that like, you know, masturbating to the movie, and also he goes on. He just buries himself. The more you watch,
Is he
it,
like a Borat style caricature, or is it legit him?
No, he's
Because there's a lot of
no, he's not.
guys like that
He's
are
not.
just.
He's not.
Right.
I'll link it to you afterwards.
Okay.
But he's not. He's legit, and that's the thing. Like that made me angry. It wasn't the movie as much as how someone
I get it.
Someone that is not quite right in their head.
That basically sounds like why Dave Chappelle quit. Because
he's a legend.
Yeah, I love him. I love him to death, and he's still doing stand up. One of the few that is managing to do it. But like the reason he gave for just fleeing and going to Africa was because he was always doing that like full on edgy, racially infused humor. And he was fine with that, but then he noticed one of the crew members, a white guy, laughing to it, but not laughing with it, but laughing at it.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh shit, this can be taken that way. And I guess that's where you're coming from. There's some creepy dude ogling these, 11-year-olds, and you're like, okay, if there's anything on there that can do that, then I don't want to be a part of it. So I can kind of understand that. But having seen it myself with the friend that you just met, like we both came away with like, that was hard to watch, some of it, but that was the point. You're supposed to feel uncomfortable, and any really good art will make you feel uncomfortable. And then there's the other issue of, are they being, exploited themselves to show, there's that whole catch-22 of like, do you need to exploit someone to show that exploitation is bad? And they're comparing it to like, drugs, like, oh, look how bad drugs are. Let's inject a 12-year-old with heroin. I don't think it's the same.
Not that, look, as a creative person,
yeah.
I'd already instantly thought of ways that you could have conveyed, like the dance scene at the end could have been going on, but you're only focusing on the crowd's reaction, but you're not actually seeing what's happening on stage.
Sure.
And that would have just as been...
That would have been almost more cringy because, like with horror films, when you show death off screen or the monster off screen, it's almost scarier than just going all out.
Right. I'm just saying that there could have been ways of doing it so that you don't have an 11-year-old grabbing a groin on such a big platform.
I think the point of view matters too. Like the writer, creator, director is a girl or a woman that went through the same thing. Like that's almost a personal story for her.
Totally get it. And if it affected her so bad when she was young.
If it had been, who's the guy that made Fifth Element? And he had a really dodgy relationship with, it was either Mila Jovovich or... He's a great director. Right. Oh God, I'm so bad with names.
Film.
But he's been accused of a lot of like chicanery with younger women. Like he'd be 50-something, she was 20, which it's legal. It's like legal. The whole Jack Nicholson thing. But she was a neophyte. She was new, fresh out of the country town, and was just like, right, now you're mine. And he would just marry her and do whatever he wanted. So it's legally fine, but morally questionable.
Yeah.
If it had been someone like him that had made it. And it was like 90%, or just the crotch shots and that sort of thing, then that's a totally different kettle of fish. But I think it helps somewhat knowing that she wanted, and if you get to the end, the girl goes away from that and it shows how awful that is. So it's not like, I was seeing so many hot takes where it's like, it's pushing pedophilia down our throats.
It's definitely not. Like there's always going to be that kind of reaction to that film, right? Always. But for me, it was more like just seeing this guy's literal review on the film was enough for me to go, fuck, this guy feels good about this. There's justification all of a sudden. And it was just more that train of thought that ran away for me personally. I was just like, fuck. And you know what? There's more to it than that. It was like paying $15 a month for Netflix and going, you know what? Fuck.
I'm paying 20 because I want 4K.
But that's the thing. I'm just going, fuck it. That's just another one of those little holes in my pocket.
Yeah.
I'm not making a ton of money.
No, I'm bad. I've got, I think, one or two that I'm using friends' accounts. But I've got Prime, Stan, Binge, Foxtel sometimes, which is basically Binge, like the same content. You name it. Like the SBS and 9 and all that, but they're free.
But I just think back of all the times where I've watched a Netflix show, and I've literally spent from the morning to the night watching a year's worth of content.
Well, it's all about balance. You don't want to. I mean, the quarantine was good for that sort of thing, but ultimately, I work 12 to 13 hours a day. Then you got to commute, so I can only maybe squeeze in one or two when I get home and pass out. But when you've got a lot of time in front of you, it's hard not to resist. It's hard to resist that temptation to see the story out if it's a good one.
You know, I mean, going back in circles now, but it's like I now doing these podcasts and shooting a whole lot more too.
Good.
And gotten to a point now where
And you
I'm
use
on this
Patreon for that, don't you?
Yeah, I
Isn't
make
there?
money.
Don't they have rules? Like I've heard of people getting kicked off Patreon for going too
no
far.
pornography. So I can't have a girl touching her bits.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
I
I was
can-
wondering how they.
You can show private parts, but you can't be touching or inserting anything.
Okay, so does someone? It's not like Facebook. Someone sits down and looks at these, or is it just a bot, like an algorithm that can find
It's
that?
a bot.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know.
And you've never actually talked to anyone at Patreon yourself?
I
Okay,
have,
so
yeah.
at least
Yeah,
there's
it's
someone
still
you
humans, yeah.
Right.
So I initially got my Patreon shut down because I accidentally
Yeah.
put some nudity on a public post. So there's like posts that you make only for your patrons, but then you can use public posts to try to draw people into your
Sure.
Patreon. And so I've learned my lesson over the years is to just never make any public posts, and they tend to just leave you alone because it's all private.
Yeah, and they want to keep it that way to keep people locked
Whereas
into that.
even if I post a girl in fully clothed but doing a sexy pose, someone's going to check that out, and it could get reported. And so I probably could make more money if I could use the public system and tease people in and have photos that are completely like blurred out bits and say, guys, pay this much to see this uncensored.
So how long have you had the Patreon going?
Probably 3 years now. Like I met Vivian Law. She's a really good friend of mine. She has been almost like a best mate and a muse for me for the last 3 years. And when I met her,
She just bought a new car, didn't she?
she's loaded, man. She's she makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I met her on a site called Model Mayhem, which is
Right.
this really creepy site where a lot of girls that aren't models are looking for experience.
Sure.
And she had these shocking photos where she's like wearing lingerie and heels in bed and doing these kind of poses.
I'm weird like that. If I see someone wearing heels in bed, I'm like, oh my God.
It's so
what are you doing?
escorty, you know?
Shoes in bed.
They were so escorty shots, but I didn't
Yeah.
know she was an escort. And
Right.
I reached out to her and I just said, they're really horrible photos. And I think I could probably take much better photos, you know, if you're interested. And when I'm...
And she probably hears that a lot, but then you must have had a portfolio or something that she could look at and go, oh shit, this guy's legit.
First day I met her, she was like a part-time escort. She still had a civvy job. And I'm like, I'm not going to shoot you in your... You know, she was dressed in all these like corporate wear, and underneath was all like super expensive lingerie and Louboutin heels and stuff like that. I'm like, no, I just want to shoot you like girlfriend experience, kind of like girlfriend style, and big smiles, and like not that kind of like overly erotic, you know. And we started doing that, and started at the same time. I'm like, hey, have you heard of Patreon? Like, you should start one. No. And my God, like she got so busy with work that she quit her civilian job and just went full-time escorting.
And it was partly because you'd helped out with the photos and stuff. Yeah.
I think it's partly, but she would outright, even we did a podcast the other day with a guy in the US, and she just, everyone she meets, she outright says it's all because of Justin.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I quadrupled her income.
Right. And it's that sort of word of mouth that helps you get other models to come on. And
Well, she tells other girls that, yeah, shoot with Justin if you want to change your image up from like this Photoshop to fuck escorty style photo where every single bump in your skin has been smoothed over and, you know, someone's gone and sucked your tummy in and gotten rid of all your stretch marks. And like, no, I leave that in because it's like every guy has photos of his girlfriend on his phone that they're not the perfect shots, but you're not going to delete them.
No.
It's like you cherish them. And if you break up with her, even better, because like I still have these memories. So it's almost like this.
Someone
this
could
thing.
question the ethics of keeping them, but I get it. Yeah.
But it's a realism. Like,
You could go to jail for sharing them, apparently now. They've just changed the law. I think it was early this year or last year, and that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, with the whole revenge porn thing.
No,
There was
look,
even a
it-
website called, I can't remember the name, but like guys were just sending in photos of their ex-girlfriends.
yeah,
And he was reposting it.
that's Reddit, man.
Yeah.
But look, I just think like it's not for everyone. Like a few escorts that I've reached out to that show their faces, because I love to shoot faces, so it's hard to shoot escorts. That
do you use like
a
a 50mm lens or like a different lens
35,
for the face?
35, and I just always just focus on the eyes. That's what I love doing, and
Yeah.
everything else just blurs out. But a few escorts that I reached out to last year when I was running photo studio, I was like, fucking why not? Let's just reach out to every escort that I think could be good shooting.
Just spam them,
And spam every single one of them and just say, we're offering a photography service and this is what we do. And it's worked really well with Vivian Law. So would you be interested? And literally got emails back from some girls saying, you're not professional at all. These photos are horrible. They're all blurry. And, you know,
they want that classic traditional
you
style.
can see her stretch marks. And, you can, I'm like, they're still doing that high class escort, heels in bed. And that's a fair call. Highly photoshopped skin. You look like your teeth are so white and everything's been photoshopped.
It looked like someone that's walked off the set of Westworld.
Right. So I get it. I get that works for a lot of them. Totally. But Viv is enjoying her work so much more because she's now turning up to work in sneakers and jeans sometimes instead of this thing like wearing, you know, heels or
You mean meeting clients
being
and stuff?
a high class. So when she meets clients now, she's so chill that they actually want to just hang out and talk to her for hours, or just watch Netflix together, or go on a date and have
I can't
coffee.
shame guys who pay for that, because I mean, you even talked about an experience once where you gave it a shot, and that was a really beautiful post, and I didn't make time to respond to that then because I was like, oh, maybe I can talk to him in a better setting. But I've been through experiences similar to that when I was a lot younger and traveling around the world, and you don't have a lot of time to make real friends and all that sort of thing, but you're desperate to have any kind of human contact. Let alone
you're not
intimate.
getting it at home, or
So I get it, but there's always a part of me that's just too much of a people pleaser. Like, it's hard for me to say no, and I just want to make the other person happy. And if I think for any moment that there's an artifice to it, or that they're just there because of the X amount of money that I'm paying, then that would really be too hard for me to process. But I do.
I'm with you on that.
Right.
Like, I'm with you on that. Like, that's the thing. Like, I've been so judgmental about all of Viv's clients.
Right.
And in some ways, seeing an escort was an attempt to try to understand them somewhat.
I would never in a million years shame a woman that empowers herself to do something like that. Like, that's more power to them, you know, awesome. Because if these guys are willing to do it, then I would never put down a woman that. They
are in a situation where the client is completely guard down, and open, which is great for someone young like Viv, because she actually meets so many powerful men,
right?
That she's learning a lot about life and business and experience from what they're talking about, which is fascinating. And she's, but at the same time, she brings it home too. So if she's seen too many people in a week, that's a whole lot of stories muddling around all up, and people's problems. Like, it's almost like she's a therapist.
That was why I found it hard working in the prisons as well. Like, just all the shit you would see, and you think, oh, I'll just close the door, compartmentalize it, but you end up carrying around.
What were you doing in?
I was working as a casual, which they just started doing when I went in. And a lot of the full-timers that have been there for years and hadn't had any new blood for a long time, but they were really struggling with the numbers,
right?
In terms of having enough people to actually do the job.
Casual what? Like, what were you doing?
Corrections officer, like, so taking inmates to court, to the clinic to get their shots, to just shut down, like do lockdowns, or get people fed. And
you had really good open conversations with inmates?
It was hard to, you generally get closed off. You don't want to be seen. Inmates don't really want to be seen talking to an officer, because then the other guys are like, okay, he's snitching. Why is he getting too friendly with that guy?
Right.
When it's, so you've got like a wing, and you might have 2 or 3 guys that are kind of running that wing, and they'll even be on the board as like, okay, they're the, oh God, I forget the word, but basically they'll fill the fridges and pass out the food. They're the only ones you'll let out when it comes to dinner time. And they'll walk around to all the other cells and push the food under the door and all that sort of thing.
Right.
So you might have a bit of a friendly chat with them, and you stop yourself from looking them up, because you can go through their files and see, how many kids did he you know, and that you just don't want to be thinking about it.
That'd be so fascinating. Like
Yeah.
I love talking to people, so I just wouldn't be able to help myself.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought going in, but the
But it's not
structure of it
exactly-
and the
yeah.
way it's physically set up, generally you're in your little pod and you're behind a thick glass or plastic screen, so they might come up to you now and then, hey, give me this form or give me that, like, paperwork that I need to, you know, it's very, like, straight in and out. You're not sort of hanging, oh, how was your day?
Yeah,
And if you're walking outside in the yard, there's you and another officer,
Yeah.
and they're off doing their pacing back and forth or playing basketball or whatever, and you generally don't mix unless you sit in a hospital. And that's what I ended up doing mostly, because you can't bring your phone or really any reading material into an actual correction centre.
Okay.
So I would take guard duty shifts in hospitals, and you start at 8 o'clock and then you leave, 12 hours later, or maybe 9 or 10, depending on like when the next guard shift turns up. And that was the only time you're generally given a gun either, if you're on a tower
Holy shit.
or in the hospital. And
So you've shot guns?
yeah, a few. Not so much in the line of duty, more for training.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
right, yeah.
I've one time I had to put my hand on it because I was like, I don't want to do this, but do get back in bed, because he kept threatening to jump out, and he wouldn't stop buzzing the nurse or knocking up, and it was like 3 in the
man,
morning, and she had to
that's-
keep coming in, and I was like,
That's heavy. That's heavy.
yeah, and
is
that's it.
heavy.
I mean, it's like even now driving a 20-ton truck, it's like if I get lazy or bored or like not pay attention for 2 seconds, shit can go south and I can hurt a lot of people. And it's, I guess, in a way, the same in the prison, though then it was more like maybe one other person and my career would be over. Or I'd be facing charges myself, which is what happened to a lot of the guys that worked at Silverwater.
It's just the mental ramifications that I'm more like, whoa,
Yeah.
like,
I mean-
like you don't know. It's almost like having kids or whatever. You don't know until you do
Yeah.
it, and then you do it, and it's like, well, this
And
is gonna-
I think I have problems with seeing my kids. I'd see guys that are in there for 20 years and they've got toddlers being brought in once every few months, and they're not allowed to touch them. They have to wear a special suit, and they're like, we're doing full body cavity, everything searches before they go into the room. You don't touch them. We don't do that where they squat and cough thing anymore. But you're seeing
like in
everything,
old
and then
films and stuff. Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty crazy. But
that's why I don't like apartments. Like, I whenever I crash at a mate's apartment, it's like I'm sleeping there on the couch, and just as I'm trying to get to sleep, I'm thinking there's a fucking body above me, there's a body below me. There's a
Never
body
thought
to
of
the
it
left,
like that.
And there's so many fucking bodies. There's like hundreds of bodies. stacked up
my
above
main
me.
issue is when there's 4 or 6 of them in a room, which is the size of like your little desk area here. They've got that one silver bowl that they use as a toilet. There's no curtains or anything. There's no sort of privacy. You just got to go in front of everyone else.
Dude, I had
think
a
that'd be
mate,
the
I had a
hardest.
mate, a really good girlfriend of mine. Like, she went overseas and got caught with a joint. I think it was Thailand. She got caught with a joint at a party and got thrown in the slammer. And yeah, she had to shit in front of people. And she said it was just hell. She couldn't believe what she was going through. There's just nothing that could save her.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty bad here, but I can't imagine having to go in a jail overseas. I'm pretty sure there's one of those reality shows or a documentary where it's like jail in hell or something like that, and there's dudes in Thailand.
But I know this girl. It's like,
And it's like,
I just felt so bad for her because like there's nothing I can do.
And she's probably some super classy girl normally. And it's just
Well,
like,
yeah,
she's been-
Sydney, live in the city, corporate job, and all that stuff. Like, oh my god,
that could be good. It could be good for character.
Well,
Let's just say it's,
that's the way you have
put
to
it down
look at
to,
it.
yeah.
That's how you build a thicker skin and become more interesting as a human being.
Yeah.
When you actually have some real adversity,
But yeah, I definitely saw the side of it where they'll go in and come out worse because, they weren't given enough training or time, or there'd be, as soon as anyone arced up, they'd just be dropped on their head and put in an isolation cell for a few days. So I think we're a bit better than some places, like America's much worse from what I've seen and heard. But there's just been some crazy stuff. Like there was one New Year's Eve and I was getting double time, so I was pretty happy. But they kept me in a room with this guy with nothing but a colander and his green scrubs, like his like jumper and tracksuit pants, because that's the other thing. I'll never wear green again. And he had to spend the entire New Year's Eve from like 10 o'clock till 2 in the morning pooping in this bucket and then pulling out every single scrap of tobacco leaf and putting it in an evidence bag because his mum had slipped him some smoke, on the visit the same day.
Oh man, yeah,
And,
that's like
the thing is, I was like, well, how did she get it to you? And the other guard was like, well, we saw her, she'd safed it, and then she slipped it into his mouth when they kissed goodbye. So she'd had it in her, what they call a safe for the female, and that's up,
Right. Yeah.
What you're not allowed to show on Facebook. And
Yeah.
then she'd kissed him goodbye and slipped it into his mouth.
Holy shit.
So,
man,
and then he was going to smoke it. Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
He just goes, it's New Year's Eve, I wanted to smoke.
Yeah, whatever it takes.
But yeah, I've seen guys that have been lying in the hospital with their stomach completely open, with nothing but a gauze over it because they've been swallowing light bulbs or sections of drain pipe or whatever, and then they don't like what's going on because they're still coming down off ice, so they'll be pulling stuff out of themselves and throwing it at me and the nurse. And
holy shit, man.
yeah, or we won't move him in his cell because they're at the courts, and he knows his girlfriend's due for court the same day, and she's around in the other wing, and he's like, no, move her next to my cell. And we're like, no, we don't have to do that. So he'll immediately start defecating all over the prison cell, and there's a little like inch gap along the bottom of the cell, and so he's just pushing it all out into the corridor.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do this every day.
Well,
but yeah,
it's. I mean, it's obviously added to who you are as a person, and it's added to this podcast. Like that's the thing. Like you have a story to tell. I think, just even doing these podcasts again, it's like everyone has a story. Sometimes people wait till the podcast is over to really tell me the real story. Which is
that's why you got to keep the mic running and not tell them.
It's true.
But oh wait, consent. Damn it.
But these stories are kind of like. I think the way podcasts work for me is that I listen to a whole 2-3 hour podcast, and there might only be like one tiny bit in there that actually is juicy to me.
Yeah.
But man, I'm so glad that I waded through the shit to find that one little bit. And I think like in a situation where Zen and myself, sort of a lot of the people that I reach are quite a lot younger. I think.
So you still? I thought I saw the shirts on sale still.
I still run it. I'm just not promoting it.
Yeah.
I'm not like
and
pushing sales.
What happened with the garage?
Man, that just let it go.
Had it dropped off in terms of people turning up and hanging out, or was it just,
not at all. It was just like, man, first year we made a loss. Second year was like, and I was like, fuck, how could we have made a loss? We sold so much. And I was working my fucking ass off, and like my business partners were like, Justin, that's how it is. You just keep going. So I'm like, okay, we'll do another year. Second year, we broke even.
All right.
And I'm like, you fucking kidding me?
But are you paying yourself on top of that?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And I was like, you fucking kidding me?
I did study business for a while when I was in Holland, and yeah, that apparently is common. Like when a first business starts out, most of them fail.
No, that's what they were saying.
None
to
of
me.
them make money in the first few years.
Yeah, so the third year, we made like 15, 20 grand profit.
Right.
And that's when, like, I think it was the third or fourth year when I said, I want to see the bookwork from the very first year to now. And it was, they're like, that's a lot of bookwork, Justin. I want to see it. I'm the creative guy, but I'm a business partner here. I need to see it.
Yeah, so you invested a certain amount of money yourself.
Yeah.
And obviously all your
time.
Dude,
I lost, I think I've lost 100K.
Shit.
So it ended up being like a thick stack of A4 paper. Like
right.
Thick stack.
Books.
And it starts off at like $734,000 through the till. I'm like, brr. At the very end, it's like, 15 grand profit in the bank. I'm like, you fucking kidding me? Like, I knew we were selling that much. When I saw that $700,000, I was just like, I know that.
So where are all the costs going if you're just getting someone to make it in China or whatever?
Fucking.
So you think someone's maybe
the insurance costs more than the rent?
Right.
Insuring a big warehouse space.
Oh, so it's not like anyone was embezzling
there or something. So I don't know. That's the thing. I mean, I just didn't feel this is not right. I'm like, bricks and mortar business, fucking government, they're not supporting small business. This is too hard for me. It's too hard. It was just way too hard. Every week we pushed, and it was just like we were doing so well, but for there not to be a salary for us was just insane. Like not enough money to pay ourselves just to even open up the shop. I was in there 6 days a week. I mean, come on, like for that many years. and just like had nothing from it. Then I had to go buy my business partners out, and I had to fucking pay so much money. And it's a matter of pride for me. Even though I wasn't intending to make that money back, I'm just like, fucking take the money, fuck off.
So that was like basically you lost on that whole venture, but you ended up gaining a culture and a brand, maybe at least, that you can carry on now that you own it.
Now that I own it, like when some of my friends wear the brand and they can't get over it and they love wearing it and they can't stop wearing it, I'm like, that's the gold for me.
Right.
That is, it's like any artist. You get feedback, you get good feedback on a podcast, or you get, like I do all these writing these pieces about coming off medication or depression and stuff like that. So many people aren't brave enough to actually comment underneath the posts because they don't want to be seen, heard. They're just shy people, not confident people. But my inbox is flooded with people. Even that story about me booking an escort, the amount of women that contacted me.
Really?
They've thought about doing escorting or they've done escorting but they've never fucking told anyone. I'm the first person they've told ever. And it's like, there's so many people out there that really have a story and want to share it, but they're so scared of sharing it. But for me, that feedback is gold, And
the psychology behind it fascinates me. Like, I have a massive love for women of all shapes, sizes, colors, everything. And it's just, so there's that part of me that's lasciviously drawn in to that whole world, and seeing the photos, I get, oh my God. But then I got to admit, I'm ashamed to say I haven't jumped into the Patreon side of it, because I just know that like whether it's Vivian or one of the other girls, I'm just going to fall in love and be like,
well, that's the business I'm in.
Yeah, but I'm not creepy enough to like actually find out who they are, and beyond the fact that you've told me her name.
Yeah.
And it's like, I saw that you shared that she had some BMW or whatever it was. Or
Audi TT.
That's right. Yeah. I knew it was European.
Yeah.
And that's, awesome that they can do that. And like, I'm selling my body in the same way. I don't think anyone is higher or lower on any kind of like weird subjective moral totem pole.
Of course not.
But it's just...
No, I even talked about that with the girl that I shot today was an escort, and like it's come to my head that what I do, as real as I think it is, if I take a bigger picture step back, it's kind of like, man, this is not real, because I'm actually not having sex with this girl and I'm shooting her like I am.
Yeah.
And for the girls, it's real. They're thinking really sexual things to get get the shot right.
Yeah.
But end of the day, it is framed. It's not real. And then like, so now I'm got this little thing in my head where I'm like, is that, it's something that I should probably be conscious of, because I've just spent like most of my lifetime doing advertising and only realizing now that advertising sucks. So it's like, I don't want to be another, doing something that I think is so fucking awesome. But then when you take a bigger step back, it's like, what the fuck?
Do you think all advertising is morally bankrupt or creatively devoid of any...
I just think it's just a weird profession to choose if most of the people in this world hate it. So it's like...
But you've watched hours of the Gruen transfer, and obviously spent hours going through other people's portfolios and seeing what's out there and studying it from the eye of a creator as well, not just someone who consumes it. And there must be some respect for the guys at the top. Like,
no, I just go back to like, you're an artist first, and you're an advertising or creative graphic designer second. You were never a graphic designer first.
Yeah, well, I don't know how many commercial directors, like whether graphic designers or the guys that make the videos, have always, generally they're doing that to get to another stage where
it's money.
They just want to do it for the money, so they can then go and make movies.
Commercial is a commercial artist.
Yeah.
So the idea is like, if you're a true artist, you just cannot help but paint. It's like Picasso had like so many canvases on the go. You can even picture it in your head. He had like so many canvases on the go at the same time that next thing you know, his lounge room is filled with canvases. Then every single room in his house is filled with canvases, to the point where this has got to get out. The next thing you know, the artworks were flowing out. It makes sense. It's like...
But who can afford to have that much integrity to just keep it all around? And I don't know. I still respect people like, Spike Jonze, Steven Soderbergh, all these great directors that started off in the commercial advertising world. And I like to think that one or two of their projects that they were involved with, they're still kind of proud of. Sure, they were shilling for something, but they added their own touch in some way.
100%. There's bits I don't know. There's bits of merit, 100%. You're using different part of your brain because you're still adhering more to the brief. And the brief being like, well, you know, you got to sell X amount of product, or they're trying to reach a certain market or something like that. The thing is, the problem solving part of it is really fun. It's really addictive.
I don't know. I got a lot of respect for anyone that can make me actually sit through a YouTube ad. Like the number of times, I'm almost trained psychologically to wait for that skip button.
Dude,
4, 3, 2, 1, bam, gone.
Of course,
but if something gets me to watch through, wow.
Yeah, of course. But for me, you know, it's kind of like I've done my time, and now it's kind of like, it's so weird to think that I'm going backwards, but I would love to be like that kid in the lounge room every day in the sun on the carpet just drawing. Or that's what I did as a kid.
I mean, that's the dream. If you've got to the point where the mortgage is paid off and you live in an awesome place in a great part of the world, and you've got your shoots, and that's keeping you...
That's super creative too.
I mean, I can't fault you for choosing to go in that direction at all.
Yeah.
I just... I like to think that there's some merit to some commercial endeavors, that's all.
There is 100%. There is 100%. There is such a thing as a good ad. Like 100%. Like I want to do a video project with Viv about escorts and try to get a message out there in a viral video. And the 2 videos I brought up, one of them was the very first Nike women's ad, which is fucking amazing. It's got such a powerful narrative. Even more powerful when you turn on the captions and actually just read the words.
Is that the one with the little girls going, you know, fight like a girl or punch like a girl? And they're sort of like, putting a spin on that whole thing?
Nah, it's really old school. It's got really old school footage of like the first woman that joined a marathon and then
I love
gets
that.
pulled out.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They're not allowed to run.
Yeah.
And like, you know, they said... The narrative goes along the lines of they said we were crazy, but it's like it's really fucking awesome, and it ends with just do it, which is fucking sick.
Yeah, no, there's been some great Nike campaigns over the years.
And the other one's the Apple ad. The they called us the crazy ones, and it's all like Einstein, and it's all the people that were during their time. People just
it's like photoshopped earbuds into Einstein's.
But you know, that whole Think Different campaign was cool in that like. It's emotive. It's only a minute 24 or a minute 50. So it's a really short video. You don't have to wait long before it's over, but it captivates you in how strong the narrative is. So we want to do a viral video that is not like trying to answer any questions. It's more about asking more questions. That's it. It's just a 1 minute 20 piece that is done by like my mates, because I studied graphic design.
So what are you advertising? If it's, or is it just the same format?
Maybe it's more awareness as opposed to, and to get people.
So it's like a PSA.
It's getting people to think a little bit differently about escorting than how they may be currently thinking.
Like more normalizing it. For like,
yeah, but it's not going to be like, you know, escort voices saying da 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 and sharing their stories. No, it's got to be a strong narrative, but not in a sympathetic way, or, you know, and not overly educational at all. It's just got to be more about asking questions and getting people to ask questions. It's just like planting a seed, basically.
No, I look forward to.
And it's interesting because some of the guys, like I ended up doing the forums and all of that stuff with my design
because
degree.
You had all those forums as well, and Facebook basically killed a lot of that stuff, didn't it?
It really did. It really did. But some of the guys that I went to university with and that I met during those times when I was running a design company, one of them has done all the titles for like The Great Gatsby, and he does so much out there.
Did he come up with that font?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a typographer. He's
Jesus.
insane, Luca. And he's just so out there, and it's awesome when someone like that likes my photos and comments on it, knowing that his whole feed is full of design stuff, but if he likes my shit, next thing you know, he's got naked girls on his feed, but he still thinks I'm worth it.
Yeah.
Now, I love that. I really respect that. Another guy did the intro title sequence to Tron, the movie. And these guys are so talented, but they're working on such commercial shit. And I'm like, I need to just get one of them to help me with this and animate the fuck out of this thing. And it's like,
I'm sure someone will, just pay them with exposure bucks. You know,
Viv's got the money. I'm like, Viv, bankroll this.
Yeah.
You know, you've got the money to actually pay them for their amazing design skills. And it's also going to be such a good piece for their portfolio.
Just don't chip the Audi yet. Just
but it's a more creative piece. They have more freedom and they get involved in the process. And, you know, so we're really close. We're really close to like having a meeting with one of the guys and talk about doing this thing in typography and animation, and no video footage, no high heels, no escorts. Every other documentary out there on escorts has the wet, dirty road, the high heels, some chick getting into a car. And it's like,
keep it real. It'll be like a Dove commercial, but for escorts.
Yeah. No, it's cool. Like, I think, you know, my head's ticking again, and I feel like I'm going back to the crazy me again, potentially dangerous.
Hey, as long as you can cope and manage it, like, you know, not everyone can drop the medicine. I've got, you know, pretty much every girl in my family, like my mother and two sisters, have got massive mental health problems. Like my mother's full-blown schizophrenic. And if she's not on her meds, like she's getting arrested.
Me, so many people have mental issues. So many people. Like, so many. Did that just die?
No, the screen just dies sometimes because I've not... You know,
but so many people do, man. Like, you know, I'm a bit more worried about like them handing out medication to someone that's like 15 years old. Like, I do. I think like life is hard, and you should go through really hard lessons before you actually hop on medication.
What about hormone blockers? Just to get really controversial, because I know you said you listen to Joe Rogan, and my main issue with him is he's got a lot of pseudoscience people on that talk about, like, he has some really good guests, and I tend to stick to the ones where it's like a proper scientist or someone really interesting. Though the Mike Tyson one, I'm not a huge boxing fan, but that was fun to listen to.
Interesting.
He gets hard when he hurts people, and that's the bit that Trump retweeted. I was like, okay, you might have got a bit too much information there. But no, you had this doctor on, air quotes, who was talking about there's this huge trend of young girls becoming transgender, and that they're using hormone blockers, and that might make them infertile, and he's all like gung-ho about that. And I think it only crossed into his world because there was an MMA fighter that didn't tell anyone that she used to be a man.
Yeah, beat everybody up.
Yeah, so I kind of see where he's coming from there, but I think he might have gone too far into the world of like believing these other people that are like have got a less pure agenda. No, I'm not an expert either.
Look, I'm a huge Matrix fan, like the first Matrix film, because at that time I just felt like it so said everything that I think.
I heard they were supposed to have more trans characters, but the studio said no.
Well, the funny thing is, the other day, you know, I've been doing these podcasts, and people like from like Leslie from like this super meditation classes and spiritual stuff uses a Morpheus quote on his website. And it's like, it's so funny how many people use, and there was another podcast that I saw with a girl, a lady who's another one of those positive change fucking doing like martial arts and shit, and she did a fucking Matrix quote. And then so I just thought, I wonder what the Wachowski brothers are doing. And I googled the Wachowski brothers, and it's like, they don't exist anymore.
No, they're gone. Now they're the Wachowski sisters. Right. And I recommend watching Sense8, which is a really good...
Sense8, that's not... Yeah, well, I'm not on Netflix anymore, but... But dude, it spun me out so hard that like, I can't believe that I hadn't heard of this, because I was such a huge fan of the first film, The Matrix. And then like, on the topic of like all this trans culture and stuff like that, to me, that has been the most emotion I've put into the subject. Because I love the film so much. So it's like, it's so easy to make fun of it, or the Kardashians or whatever. And it's so easy to look at, it's just like politics. It's the same shit. You need to really understand more before you say anything. That's the way I feel about it.
Yeah, I want to be able to walk in someone else's shoes for not just a mile, but 1,000 miles before I judge anything they do.
That's what I mean. Like,
as long as they're not hurting someone else.
And, I'm a pretty judgmental person, just straight off the bat. So it's like, I definitely don't feel comfortable going forwards in like discussing stuff that I haven't got enough knowledge about.
I think that's where Joe Rogan can sometimes go astray. He'll call himself an idiot. He'll say, "Hey, I'm just a bloody game show host." He'll put that caveat in there. Like,
but he'll use it. He's not an idiot. He's just not, but he uses that as his shield.
Yeah, I don't think he's saying like he's outright stupid. He's just saying, look, I don't know anything about this, but I think maybe this is a thing. He
uses it as a justification for when he gets it wrong. He's like,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, I'm just a fucking
Yeah.
ordinary dude.
Like
I'm
recent-
just like on here and I'm
Yeah.
just like asking dumb questions.
But I got to give him credit. Like when he posted something about the fires being lit by all these BLM supporters, and that was found out to be fake, he did.
He had to
You know,
apologize.
apologize. And a lot of people wouldn't do
Spotify's
that.
trying to censor him at the moment, and
Yeah.
a lot of Spotify.
Well, he doesn't know. No one's talked to him about that. Hey, like
Well,
he was,
he did mention about it. He spoke. He's very smart. He could probably talk about it for half an hour.
yeah. Well, it came up on one of his recent episodes, and he's like, "Yeah, no one at Spotify has said anything to me about it,
Yeah.
but we'll see."
And he wouldn't take it. He'll just say fuck off.
Because he's the most anti-censorship guy out there. Like he loves Jack Dorsey because that's one of the few social media platforms where nudity is allowed. And I didn't even realize that till I heard
It's
it on
not. You get shadow banned.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I follow quite a few, and that's why I worry, because I only have Twitter and Instagram using my Beyond Cosplay handle.
Right.
And that's a generally quite... On Facebook, I only post like pure G content. Like it's all very family friendly. It's conventions. It's, we want
which
to
is the
have like a
rules.
Disney look.
the rules, yeah.
But then on Twitter, I'm like following all these dodgy accounts, and there'll be, OnlyFans girls
Shut
posting up like full kitty shots and everything. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
guess they're allowed to do that. Like it's generally videos, but it's
You're
still
allowed to, but you will get shadow banned to a point where
It's not in
lose
your-
a lot of traffic.
Yeah, I mean, it's still
So-
online, but people have to go to your account and literally look through to see it. Yeah.
A lot of the escorts rely on Twitter.
Twitter, huh? Okay.
It's the only platform that allows them to sell their service.
Right.
Even though they're completely legal.
Yeah, that's right. Because the FBI, when Trump came in, they shut down like what was that classifieds that was really big over there for a while? Or it got bought out by some big corporation. They were like, yeah, we don't want anything dodgy on there anymore. Oh God, Craigslist. Yeah, that was it. All the personal sections were removed.
Yeah, that's nasty shit.
Gumtree used to have personals. That was all removed.
Oh yeah, fucking hell.
So yeah.
No, I get it. Like I get that's what I mean. Like politically, I get upset when I get banned off Facebook for 30 days or whatever. But like at the same time, like, fuck, it's not my platform.
True. I think for me, the reason people get upset is more that they can't go to someone. Like when you're dealing with any other company, you can ring up and go, hey man, what's
There's
the deal?
no reasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
no, you violated some obscure term of service. And we won't tell you which one it is or what post it was even.
I know.
Like
And
I've
you've
got
been
one
making
now.
them money this whole time.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
thing. Like that's what feels shit about it. It's like, fucking hell. Like the one day that I post something questionable, I get banned for 30 days. But like, I'm connected to the ZEN Facebook page where I need to sell my t-shirts.
Exactly, yeah.
And now I'm completely blocked from
Yeah.
selling, and that's paying you fucking Facebook ads every week. So it's like, it's a mind fuck.
Yeah.
It's insane how angry I used
Yeah.
to get.
You'd
when
think
I
if
get
someone was
banned.
giving them at least, I don't know, putting in $50 a week isn't much. But if it's a few hundred a week, then Facebook would have someone out there going, all right, they're making us a bit of money. Let's add them to this list of customers who are actually paying us.
slap
that
them on
maybe
the wrist
we'll
for
talk
that, but let them keep posting the ads.
But a list of people that are allowed to contact Facebook and go, hey,
Yeah.
I need to do this or that. And yeah, if there's a constant revenue stream from that person, then that justifies.
Doesn't matter. It's not
Anyway.
my platform.
No, I
get my stuff taken off Instagram to a point where now
Yeah.
it's any day now, any one of those. I've already had so many deleted. They're like, your account could be deleted if you keep doing this. I'm like, how many more can I do before?
It just surprises me how much they get away with, and that we still just keep getting on our knees and going, yep, give me that sweet Facebook deck or that sweet Instagram.
Well, they
Like,
took
it's
it
like,
away
I don't
from
know.
us. That's the thing. Like when I was running the forums,
Yeah.
that's my platform. When I was running the blogs and everyone was checking websites,
Right.
great, huge traffic. Then Facebook starts taking off, and like
It's
we
all
start
gone.
losing traffic
Yeah.
on our platforms because it's kind of like us running a little toy shop, and then Toys R Us opening up, and then see you later. And,
Yeah.
or us running a little local hardware shop that was on every corner in every suburb in
Yeah.
Sydney, and then fucking Bunnings opens up and boom, you're gone.
Basically, yeah. I mean, that was a source of a lot of the friction early on with the creative team with Beyond Cosplay. Again, there was only a handful of us, but 2 or 3 of the others were saying, look, you shouldn't post so much on the Facebook page. Stop putting memes on there. It should only be links to your blog that we're writing for. It should
Yeah.
only be that and nothing else on the Facebook page. But I was like,
Yeah.
whenever we post anything original, like even the podcast that I do, Banana Split, it gets like 2 or 3 likes. But if I post a meme with Deadpool or whoever,
Yeah.
like whatever latest trend is,
Dude, I
it gets like 50,000 shares and all that sort of thing. So
I've done all the testing. Like with Zen, I did all the testing.
Only the original stuff that gets, is it shadow banned, or is it just people aren't into that like sort of content? Like if it's a wholesome
cosplayer,
link
in a post, it'll reach less people automatically because it's got a link in it.
Right.
You make a post and then you post the link in the comments, it just goes out there further because Facebook is.
Yeah. So maybe I should put the podcast on Facebook videos as well. But I don't think that you can have like an hour and a half.
It probably not.
Yeah.
But like I 100% know that if I just post a post using just text, heaps more interaction. Even if especially if I use that bigger text, when I put out a call,
it's a really short one.
The short ones where you get a visual,
the
bigger
color,
text. That gets, because you're using they're rewarding you because you're being a good player. You're using what they want you to use. But then put too much text. Even if I do huge rants about, whatever I do rants about, they do really well. But if there's a link at the bottom that says you can also read this on Medium, dead.
So basically shadow banned. So you need to hold back the links until you go get comments.
Do not link to a site outside of Facebook. They do not. The algorithm straight away goes, you've linked a YouTube video. You've linked another website. Puts you straight away in this.
Yeah.
We're not going to give you that reach.
That's why now I tend to share those videos within all these Facebook groups I'm in. But even then, it won't be on someone's newsfeed unless they go to that group and start scrolling through
now.
organically.
It's just shit now. Like I said, I checked out your YouTube channel, and first thing I was looking for straight away was how many views your videos got and how many likes. And it's like,
you're killing me.
There's none there. And it's like, you guys put so much work and effort in.
We only just started doing the video side of it, to be honest. I was getting 30 to 40 downloads on the audio podcast for a while.
Cool. Yeah.
So that was all right. And sometimes a bit more if it was like a debate episode.
Dude, I'm having the same issues. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I have, YouTube. I look at my older videos on Zen's older videos on YouTube. There's like 14,000 views on videos. It's like, it was good then.
Yeah, it was a different environment.
Yeah, it's just shit now. It's just really, you got to pay to play. And, so part of me is like what you talked about earlier in this podcast is like, part of me just, I'm happy when it's just good people or a few good people, and I'm not so fast about having all the people in the world check this out. But then it gets to a point where half of me still would love it if more people.
Yeah, I hear you. I think I'm totally the same boat.
Right.
I still want to. That's why I know I should make it shorter, but I wouldn't have as much fun. So I want to make it fun for me and the other guys when we do it, and that means we talk as long as we need to get everything out, and then we're
do multiple
finished.
videos. You do a shorter one, you do a longer one. Like even Joe Rogan has done.
But he does 5-hour ones. I know he has amazing content.
But
I can't compare.
JRE Clips channel. He's got a completely separate channel. For
just the bits and pieces
or the best of the week, and he'll literally have all of the podcasts from that week in a 5-minute video.
Right.
So, and then that might inspire people to go check out the long video.
Yeah.
So, and then you split it up, you put it on Instagram, little snippets of it, and you take out the gold, and then you put it in. Make sure you have type in there too, so all those people that have the audio off, they're reading.
Oh God.
Because dude, when you see type animated, you're forced to read it.
Yeah. I mean, Jaden started putting text in there now and then, he'll correct himself or he'll go, what was that actor's name anyway, and move on. But then when he edits, he'll put it in there.
Trust me,
it's a nice cartoony look.
Everyone reads it.
Yeah.
So if you put just a snippet of a juicy bit from this podcast into an Instagram, and it's just people's faces, but literally word for word, you're writing it out.
Yeah. See, if I was doing that much work, I'd want to start making something back or getting at least a bit more feedback.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
I want to have fun with it and pump it out, but I'm not going to start going crazy into the detail, granular work like that unless I know that there's going to be...
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I know I have the time in the day, I have the energy to do it, but at the moment, because I think I've really been good at social media marketing for so many years of my life, and it's now it's I've devalued it a lot. So now it's when you ask me the other day, you put it on, do you put it on here, this platform, that platform? I'm like, I did, I used to, but now it's fuck it. part of me is just like, well, if people find it cool, they don't. But at the same time, it'd be great.
The
if
one
more
thing I
people
like
found it.
about putting it on iTunes is it goes out to every single podcast catcher. So whether it's Podbean,
No,
or,
trust me, man. I
there's
used to
50
put
of
them up there too.
Yeah, so that sort of takes care of a lot of work for me, and I've even submitted it to. It got on Spotify at one point.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And I generally use Spotify for music.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And podcasts, I have like another separate app for that. But
Like even if I'm just listening to the Joe Rogan show, I still like to have the video on because every now and then I go in the kitchen, I can see it on the big screen. And
Yeah.
Like
I don't know
I
how
know he's
people-
on Spotify, but I
just-
checked it out on Spotify and
Yeah.
it's just the audio. I'm like, why would I just listen to the audio when
I know I wouldn't do
I
it.
got the visual as well?
There's no way I would do it just listening and do nothing else. I always have to be hanging out the washing, doing the dishes, driving, or something else. Then I'm listening.
Yeah.
But to just sit down and listen to something, that'd be tough. I need to be doing something with my hands,
Yeah.
and then that actually switches your brain to a mode where you can. It's like when you're walking or jogging.
Subliminal.
There's a creative part of your brain switches on, and you can
It's
come
like
up with
subliminal
problem
learning.
solving.
It's almost like are those people that have babies and they send them to sleep listening to Mozart, and it's that subliminal,
And then they'll grow up loving whatever it was on the radio.
Oh
all the
man,
time. I still love show tunes just because my mum will play it in the car all the time.
what's show tunes?
Like, I'm going to get that man out of my hand. Wash that man. Like, play musical theatre like South Pacific.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not the only one because you watch stuff like South Park, Family Guy, even The
then
Simpsons
it
to a
comes
degree.
up.
Now and then they just suddenly break into show tunes and you're like, what is wrong with these guys?
That's
But
But we should wrap it up, man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It's getting dark out there.
yeah, I better go rescue. I left someone on the beach and
Yep.
hopefully she's not getting washed out to sea.
But Pat, thanks for coming on. Like, it's good, always good to put a face to the name. Like, I think in all the communities I've ever run, that's always been the concept.
Yeah.
Like even JDMST, you can have arguments all day with people online, but as soon as you meet them at the car meet, it's like, what's your username again? Oh, it's like, and just seeing,
Yeah, it's like starting to get to know someone all over again. And yeah.
it's so good, man. And like so much feedback over the years that I've had from people that are like, man, I met my current best friends on the forums.
Yeah.
And I love that. Again, that's the gold. Like every dollar that I made from advertising from all these different businesses that I've ever run, that every dollar's gone. Like I've lost all that money. It went into an exhaust or a car.
Right.
It's disappeared. Whereas that gold hangs around. That feedback.
Yeah, that's your
always.
legacy. Is basically like
Yeah, I
having
love it.
a hand in those communities, and yeah,
I just love it. It's just like even like passing on the end of month meets to Andrew Hawkins, and he's running them now. And
Oh,
like,
is he? Okay, yeah, because I know that was a thing, that EOOM or whatever it's called.
Yeah, end of month meet. So it's just like it's so nice to. I rocked up to one a couple of weeks ago, last month's end of month meet, and he was so happy to see me. He was like, "What the fuck? You didn't tell me you were coming. Did you fucking pay to get in?" I'm like, "Yeah, man. Like, I'm just a passenger here. Like, it's just like, it's your show. Like, I don't feel like I need the VIP treatment or whatever, Like, I was more than happy to pay to get in and...
That's big of you. I got to
Check
admit,
it
if
out.
I was like the guy that started, I'd be like, dude. I'd pull the whole "don't you know who I am" card, but yeah, no, I get it.
No, man.
I'm all about free entry, but no, I
No, man, it was cool. Like, that's the thing. Like, it just spins me out that this show goes on and I started it, and I must be getting old. It must be, because when you get to a point where there's something that lives on past you putting energy into it, it's like this legacy. You said that word, but it's like, I've never thought about that shit before. But it's like, it just feels so good to know that even though I'm not at every fucking meet, I know that a certain time of the month, at the end of the month, there's all these dudes there and they're having a good time and they're showing off their cars and talking car stuff and talking shit and, eating Dagwood dogs, and like, I'm fucking awesome. I'm happy.
Getting Honda Civics to do that like weird machine gun thing.
I'm happy. But awesome to have you on, man.
Yeah,
It's just going to change, I think, the way we interact on social media and stuff.
Hopefully,
now
yeah.
that we've met, it's cool.
No, I've always wanted to, a long time dream being realised here. So thanks
legend, bro.
again for having me, and it was definitely worth the trip. And hopefully see you at some EOMM down the track or something.
Dude, yeah.
Or if you ever want to
and
do that shoot.
Invite me onto your podcast at some point. That'd be sick.
All right.